Hollywood seems all glitz and glamour, but quite a few celebrities have referenced the underlying darkness that occurs behind the scenes. Jim Carrey, one of the biggest and highest paid actors of our time, has shared his thoughts on Hollywood since retiring from the spotlight. After the Chris Rock Will Smith Oscars slap incident, Carrey shared his opinions on the standing ovation Will Smith received when winning an Oscar later that night. Hollywood is just spineless, and it really felt like it was a clear indication that we aren't the cool club anymore. Carrey went on to say that Smith should have been escorted from the Dolby Theater after slapping Rock for making an insensitive joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. In March 2022, Carrey announced to Access Hollywood that he was probably retiring from acting. "Well, I'm retiring. Yeah, probably. I'm being fairly serious," he shared. "It depends. If the angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see, I might continue down the road, but I'm taking a break." Carrey added, "I feel like, and this is something you might never hear another celebrity say as long as time exists, I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough." Our second celebrity is Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato starred in many Disney Channel movies and shows like Camp Rock, Princess Protection Program, and Sunny with a Chance. But on a podcast, Lovato shares she, as well as many of her co-stars, were subjected to harsh treatment and multiple strict rules and regulations while working for the company. She said, "You can't be seen at a party with a red cup in your hand because it looks like you're drinking." There was this website called Ocean Up that would take all scandalous things that were happening to Disney actors and put it on there, so we lived in fear of that website. I didn't have food in my hotel room. They wouldn't let me eat the snacks in the minibar. Then my security walked by my room and was made aware that they had barricaded me into my hotel room. They put furniture outside my door so that I couldn't get out and sneak out and eat if I wanted to. It was that level of controlling when it came to my food, which just made my eating troubles worse. She also stated that she felt that she was practically taking care of her own family. At a certain point, I was paying for the roof over my whole family's head, and my dad had quit his job to become my manager, so his income was coming right from me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and there was just that pressure of I'm paying for everything and like I need to keep going because if things start to disappear, so does the finances. Our next celeb on the list is Isla Fisher. The actress nearly drowned while filming a scene in Now You See Me. Fisher discussed what went wrong with the stunt, and it is horrifying. "I was in a tank of water. My character is submerged in a tank and piranhas are dropped on her head," she says. "And whilst we were there, we shot it over 3.5 days. Even though I had a quick release magnetic thing on my handcuffs, the chain that went between my ankles and my wrists was not able to be broken, and it got stuck underneath the slat and I was trapped." The actor also discussed the kill switch in the tank. There was a quick release switch that could have emptied the tank of water in 70 seconds. However, as a result of being tangled, Fisher was unable to reach for the switch. "I was very scared, and I was banging and saying, 'Set me free!' But everybody just thought I was doing fabulous acting. They thought I was being Meryl Streep in that tank. Actually, I was drowning." I guess Hollywood really wanted that good take. Our next celebrity is model Miranda V. The modeling world seems harmless, but darkness looms. Miranda accused Gigi and Bella Hadid's father of inappropriate physical behavior in a lengthy Instagram post in February 2018. "Thank you, Kate Upton. It is time people like Paul Marciano and Mohammed Hadid get exposed for who they really are. I met with Paul at his guest headquarters. That's actually an apartment. I thought it was a professional meeting, but it was just me, him, and champagne where he inappropriately touched me in an apartment. All to get a test shoot for guests." Former Disney Child star Allison Stoner exposes Hollywood with her new podcast, and some of the claims are alarming. Allison said, "I lost the ability to relate to non-famous experiences after the age of 8. Imagine on your 8th birthday you could never walk outside again without being stopped, asked for photos, or followed, unless you wore a disguise or brought security with you. Allison also mentioned the horror when they had to kiss both Dylan Sprouse and Cole Sprouse for an episode of The Sweet Life. The experience left them with conflicted feelings. Your character may have some arc or transformation that isn't evident upon reading the script of the first episode, Stoner explained. So writers and executives might decide to make your character do anything on the next episode, and it's assumed that you're gonna agree to whatever is scripted. My first kiss, and several of the times I experienced kissing, all happened on camera. On camera. Was I ready for that? No, I felt young and uncomfortable, Stoner said, but they were already under contract and didn't want to appear difficult. Another celeb that has exposed Hollywood is Selena Gomez. The superstar who boasts 430 million followers on Instagram often speaks about the downside of being famous, telling Interview magazine in 2020 that everything she does causes a reaction, saying, "The sad part is, I don't remember a time when that wasn't the case. What has kept me afloat is that I know eventually it'll be somebody else, and I don't mean that in a negative way." She said, adding that fame has still allowed her to talk about things that are important to her. "A huge part of why I have a platform is to help people. That's why I think I'm okay with the magnitude. I mean, I'm not really okay with it, but I'm gonna say that I am because it's worth it." Perhaps the celebrity with the most famous Hollywood horror story is Miss Britney Spears. In 2008, Jamie Spears, her dad, was granted the conservatorship after Britney reportedly struggled with mental health issues and was hospitalized. After Britney was released, a Los Angeles court made the conservatorship permanent, giving her father power over all her finances and her medical decisions. Although Britney was an adult at the time, she was treated like a prisoner and says she was not allowed to leave her house unless granted permission. Her father was making more money than her because he was taking a huge percentage of her earnings and not telling her. Wow, what a father he is. The greed of Hollywood doesn't stop there though. Scientology, a popular organization in Hollywood, has been known to take insane amounts of money from its members, claiming the payments will get them into a higher level in the afterlife. Actress Leah Remini, a former Scientologist, exposes the organization for the way they ruined her life after she left. The actress, who was brought into the church as an 8-year-old after her mother converted to the religion, slammed the organization for its alleged scare tactics and seemingly helping certain members avoid jail for various horrible crimes. Leah met famous Scientologist/actor Tom Cruise while still in the organization, but had to pay $1 million to do so, which she paid. After leaving, Leah sued the organization for alleged stalking and hacking. She states she reportedly had cars chasing her and following her every single day and had hackers hack into her bank account and steal thousands of dollars, all because she left the organization. Yikes. Not all Hollywood drama comes from Hollywood though. And this was the case for Kim Kardashian in Paris. In October 2016, while on a work trip to Paris, Kardashian was robbed at 3 a.m. while alone in her hotel. She was tied up and blindfolded while men in masks raided the hotel room for money. In the end, $10 million worth of jewelry was stolen, as well as 2 cell phones. Kim's sisters and bodyguards were at the club while everything took place, and Kim decided to stay home because she was tired. Boy, was that a life-changing mistake. Kim recalled the fear that she felt during a conversation with the concierge, who was also held hostage in that moment. She says to the concierge, "I'm like, what is happening? Are we gonna die? Just tell them I have children. I have babies. I have a husband. I have a family. Like, I have to get home. Tell them, take anything you want." 2 French judges later charged 12 people in relation to that robbery. Kardashian, who shares 4 kids with ex-Kanye West, has said that she almost lost herself in the year following the crime. Explaining on the Alec Baldwin show in 2018, "I was never depressed, but I wasn't motivated to get up and work like I used to. It shook me." However, the reality star also shared that she has learned to feel grateful for the experience in a way. "There was a lot of me that measured who I was by how much I had. I thought, oh, I'm worth so much," she noted. "That needed to change in me." Our final celebrity of the day is Miley Cyrus. Although Hannah Montana was a family-friendly show, starring in it gave Miley an identity crisis, she says. I had gone from being a character almost as often as I was myself. And actually, the concept of the show is that when you're this character, when you have this alter ego, you're valuable. You've got millions of fans, you're the biggest star in the world, and then the concept was that when I looked like myself, when I didn't have the wig on anymore, nobody cared about me. I wasn't a star anymore. So that was drilled into my head, Cyrus explained. I really had to break that, and I think that's maybe why I almost created a characterized version of myself at times, in the way of being aware of how other people see me. I never created a character where it wasn't me, but I was aware of how people saw me, and I maybe played into it a little bit, Cyrus continued. Speaking of her persona after, Cyrus has also talked about how the costumes and makeup took their toll on her, likely causing some body dysmorphia. I'm this fragile little girl playing a 16-year-old in a wig and a ton of makeup. It was like toddlers and tiaras. She said that being made to look like somebody she wasn't and made pretty for so many years meant that when it ended, she didn't know who she was.
Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we have Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, was an American hitman and organized crime figure. Yes, you heard me correctly. Beloved actor, Woody Harrelson had a father who was a cold-blooded killer. He was just 7 at the time when his father first went to prison. It's said that he was responsible for the deaths of at least 20 people. In 1979, that is when Charles committed his biggest kill of all time. He took out a federal judge by the name of Judge John H. Wood Jr. He was the first federal judge to be killed in the 20th century. He was paid $250,000 to kill off this judge. It was because a drug dealer was about to be sentenced by this judge, who was known as Maximum John, because he always gave out really harsh punishments to drug dealers. So he got Charles to knock him off for him. But this landed him behind bars and in solitary confinement. He was there until he was 69 when he died from a heart attack. Obviously, Woody does not want to be defined by his father's actions. In our 9th spot, we have Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is one of the few actors who actually grew up in a cult. He was born into the commune of Children of God, but when he was 4 years old, his parents managed to escape the cult and move. That's actually why they changed their last name to Phoenix, as it symbolizes rebirth, since they were able to leave this cult and start a new life. Unfortunately, he also lost his brother at a young age. In 1993, his brother River Phoenix died from an overdose. Joaquin witnessed this happen, and he was the one that called 911. In our 8th spot today, we have Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis is best known for his role of Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and I freaking love that show. Like, it was honestly my childhood. Well, before his Disney Channel days, he actually killed someone. In December of 1991, Lewis fatally hit a 21-year-old woman. She passed away from her injuries from the hit. It was found that Lewis was driving while intoxicated. His blood alcohol levels were 3 times the legal limit of intoxication. As a result, he was convicted of a DUI as well as manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 2 years probation, and 350 hours of community service. But he managed to only serve 1 year in prison. I guess Disney was able to overlook his past when he auditioned for Mosby on the show. In our 7th spot today, we have Tim Allen. Now, if you look at Tim Allen, you think, aw, he's such a family man. I love Home Improvement and Toy Story. He's a great actor. Wow. Tim Allen actually had quite a dark past before he got into acting. In 1978, Allen was arrested for attempting to traffic more than 650 grams of coke. He was arrested in Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport. Now, he actually would have served a lifetime in prison, but he avoided this by giving police information about other dealers. As a result, his sentence was reduced to 3 to 7 years. He ended up serving 2 years and 4 months in prison and then was granted parole in 1981. I guess that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover, because he looks like a wholesome dad, not a drug trafficker. In our 6th spot, we have Jack Nicholson. In 1974, Time magazine discovered that Jack's sister, June, was actually his mother, not his sister. How wild is that? So June was only 17 when she became pregnant with Jack, and she wasn't married, so her parents agreed to raise the child as their own, with Jane and Lorraine acting like his older sisters. So his parents were actually his grandparents, and his sister Lorraine was his aunt. In regards to his dad, we don't know for sure who is his dad, but some say it was likely June's manager. Other sources claim June really just doesn't know who the father was. By the time Jack found this all out, his mom, June, and his grandma had already passed away. Imagine how that would have changed his life. Like he was raised on a lie. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sean Penn. A number of women have come forward saying that Sean Penn has been aggressive towards them. In fact, he has mistreated a number of his partners, including Madonna. They were married from 1985 to 1989. While in December of 1988, Penn allegedly tied Madonna to a chair and held her hostage for 9 hours and apparently hit her multiple times. When he untied her to let her use the bathroom, she fled to the police station. One officer said, and I quote, "Madonna staggered into the station. She was distraught, crying with makeup smeared all over her face. I hardly recognized her. She had obviously been struck." Sean was charged with inflicting corporal injury and traumatic conditions on Madonna, as well as battery. But Madonna withdrew her complaint a week later and has rarely commented on it since, which is quite odd. Why would she say that he harmed her and then retract the statement? So who knows what really happened. Moving on to number 4, we have Leighton Meester. Now, I personally did not know this, but Blair Waldorf, aka Leighton Meester, wasn't always the queen bee of Manhattan. In fact, she was born in prison. Basically, her mom was serving a sentence after smuggling a lot of marijuana out of Jamaica with the help of Leighton's dad and Aunt Judy. All of them ended up behind bars. In fact, her aunt managed to escape prison and became America's first woman on the US Marshals 15 Most Wanted list. How insane is that? In the end, Leighton's grandmother raised her while her mom served 16 months in prison. Thank gosh she didn't follow in her family's footsteps. In our 3rd spot, we have Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken was involved in a death that is just shrouded in mystery. On November 29th, 1981, 43-year-old actress Natalie Wood was found dead floating face down in the Pacific Ocean. She was on a yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken when this happened. The thing is, no one really knows what happened to her. Some say she slipped off the deck and fell into the water, while others are convinced that her husband or Christopher Walken had something to do with it, or that they know what happened. One theory is that Natalie and Christopher were having an affair, Wagner found out about it, got mad, and pushed her off the yacht. Now, Wagner seems to be the prime suspect, but many people think that Walken knows exactly what happened. I mean, he barely even talks about the case, and on the rare occasion that he did, he would call it an accident, and also he was absent from the documentary about her. All I'm gonna say is someone knows something. I'm getting the vibe that Walken knows what happened and maybe he just feels guilty about it. In our 2nd spot, we have Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron actually had a very traumatic upbringing. Her dad struggled with alcohol addiction and would constantly threaten Charlize and her mom, Gerda. He would never physically hurt her, but he would hurt Gerda. One night in June of 1991, he got angry and fired shots at both of them. During that altercation, Gerda ran and grabbed her own handgun that she had kept hidden and shot him back. Her shots killed him while Charlize watched it all unravel. In the end, it was declared self-defense and Gerda never faced any charges. But think how traumatizing that must have been for her to see her mother shoot and kill her dad as a teenager. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Ashton Kutcher. Now, I never knew this, and I was incredibly shocked when I found out about it. But on February 21st of 2001, Ashton Kutcher went over to his then girlfriend's house, Ashley Elrin. The two had planned on going to a post-Grammy party, but when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. That's because Ashley was dead on the floor of her home. She had been stabbed 47 times by a man named the Hollywood Ripper. He was responsible for the death of up to 10 women. As a result, Ashton Kutcher lost his girlfriend very suddenly and in a very traumatic way. He was also scared that he was going to be a suspect in the murder investigation since his fingerprints were on her door, but he never was. But he did have to testify in court. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Just let me know, did you know any of these secrets? I only knew a couple of them, the rest I was completely shocked.
In at number 10, Madonna and Tupac. This relationship was super low-key, but it did happen, and two of the biggest musical legends dated back in their heyday. Madonna and Tupac dated for over a year until the late rapper ended things with a letter written from prison in 1995 that later went public when it went up for auction. In that letter, Tupac admitted he needed to break up with her because he felt by being with a white woman, he was letting down the black community. The letter ended up being sold for more than $170,000. The letter is dated January 15th of 1995 and is addressed to his ex, Madonna, or M as he would call her. In the letter, he wrote, quote, "For you to be seen with a black man wouldn't in any way jeopardize your career. But for me, at least in my previous perception, I felt due to my image, I would be letting down half of the people who made me what I thought I was." And number 9, Kaylee Cuoco and Johnny Galecki. These co-stars' characters were in a relationship during the hit show The Big Bang Theory, but a little known fact is that the actors dated in real life at the same time, but they kept it hidden for the sake of the show. Kyoko revealed that they were together for 2 years, from 2007 to 2009, in an interview with CBS Watch in 2010. She said, quote, "It was a wonderful relationship, but we never spoke a word about it and never went anywhere together. We were so protective of ourselves and the show and didn't want anything to ruin that." However, Cuoco revealed that the secret nature of their relationship is also the reason that it ended, because it took a toll on their bond. She added, quote, "Everyone was always asking and we denied, she revealed, and I'm like, why am I denying this person that I love?" And at number 8, Renee Zellweger and Bradley Cooper. Both of these celebrities have been in high-profile relationships in the past, but for some reason the relationship between them was kept a secret until their split. Back in 2009, they dated after filming Case 39 together. They never publicly confirmed their relationship, but we were all pretty sure it was happening because they were seen being snapped by paparazzi out and about. It ended up being a good thing that they didn't go public though, because not long after the pair announced that they split. In 2011, it was reported that the relationship ended, even though they never even confirmed it in the first place. And at number 7, Helen Mirren and Liam Neeson. This is another celebrity couple that is not only a bit shocking, but it was kept a secret while the pair were together. The pair first met while filming the movie Excalibur in the early 80s, and you may be surprised to hear that they spent almost 5 years together. Thankfully, the pair ended things amicably and have said only kind things about each other since the split. Mirren spoke about the relationship on the Grant Norton Show in 2018. She said, quote, "We didn't date. We lived together for 4 years. We were a serious item for a while. Lucky me." And at number 6, Cher and Tom Cruise. Another very shocking relationship was between Cher and Tom Cruise. The pair never admitted it while they were together, but Cher revealed the secret to the Daily Mail in 2018. The relationship happened back in the 80s after the pair reconnected at an event. Cher said, quote, "A bunch of people who were dyslexic were invited to the White House. Tom and I are both dyslexic. We didn't go out till way later, but there was definitely a connection there. Back in 1985, he was 23 and she was 38. The pair first met at Madonna and Sean Penn's wedding in Malibu, but it wasn't until their next meeting at the White House when they really connected. She later told Oprah Winfrey that they might have enjoyed a great big romance had their busy schedules not kept them apart." Halfway number 5, Sandra Bullock and Ryan Gosling. Before Ryan Gosling was with Eva Mendes, he and Sandra Bullock dated for over a year if you can believe it. And the relationship was pretty secretive for two A-list stars. In 2002, the pair dated for a little over a year after filming by Numbers together. They never confirmed their relationship while it was happening, but in 2011 Gosling told The Times that Bullock was one of his quote greatest girlfriends ever. Bullock also sung his praises and said he helped her become a more laid-back person, she said in one interview. And at number 4, Jamie Foxx and Katie Holmes. After Katie Holmes' strained relationship with Tom Cruise ended, she got into a relationship with Jamie Foxx that wasn't made public until several years later. It's been reported that the couple first got together since at least 2013, but didn't go public until 2017 after being together for 4 years. Many fans felt the secrecy was not just planned by the couple, it was actually forced by Tom Cruise. After Tom and Katie's divorce, sources revealed that one stipulation of their divorce settlement was that Katie was not allowed to publicly date anyone for at least 5 years after. That rumor has never been proven, but since the announcement, Jamie and Katie had been happily showing off their PDA. Maybe that's because they were silenced for so long. The pair split in 2019, a source said, quote, "Jamie was disappointed, though we understood she needed more of a commitment." And at number 3, Jennifer Grey and Matthew Broderick. These two starred as brother and sister in the hit movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They portrayed their hatred for each other so well, I was shocked to hear that the pair actually dated back in the day. The pair started dating after making the hit movie, but kept their relationship low-key because they thought people might think it was strange. However, their relationship came to public attention after the couple was involved in a fatal car crash while vacationing together in Ireland in 1987. Sadly, both passengers in the other car passed away as a result of the crash. Broderick was found to be at fault for the accident, and Grey suffered minor physical injuries. She later said she also struggled for years to recover emotionally from the incident. The trauma from that accident led to their split. And at number 2, Scarlett Johansson and Sean Penn. After Scarlett had a very public divorce from Ryan Reynolds, she decided to leave her relationships out of the spotlight for good. That's why her romance with Sean Penn was kept under wraps. given how famous she is, it's hard to believe that she managed to keep an entire relationship with another A-list actor a secret. But she did just that when she dated Sean Penn in 2011. According to Johansson, they quote, "spent time together for about 6 months. I guess that's her way of saying it was a pretty casual affair." She added in a 2012 interview with Vogue, quote, "I never put a title on it really, but we were seeing each other." And even though it didn't last, the pair still remained friends. And finally, number 1, Cole Sprouse and Lily Reinhart. These two played love interests in the hit show Riverdale, and like we see often with celebrity relationships, this pair's acting led into real life, and we assume that they started dating. Although they never made it official, it was obvious to anyone who was paying attention. It's rumored that they started dating sometime in 2017. The pair got in tons of drama too, and apparently were very on and off. One time, Cole was even accused of cheating on Lily with model Kaya Gerber. Then in 2020, Cole officially announced their split on Instagram, writing in a long caption, quote, "Lily and I initially separated in January of this year, deciding to more permanently split in March. And what an incredible experience I had. I'll always feel lucky and cherished that I had the chance to fall in love. I wish her nothing but the utmost love and happiness moving forward. All I'll say about it is anything else you hear doesn't matter."
Whether you knew of her before or not, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a free woman who's taking the internet by storm, but it appears that she's not as sweet and innocent as she seems, so let's take a dive into some of her dark secrets. First up, we have the crime. On June 14th, 2015, sheriff deputies found the body of Dee Dee Blanchard face down in the bedroom of her house, lying on the bed in a pool of blood from stab wounds inflicted several days earlier. Now, there was no sign of her daughter, Gypsy Rose, who according to Dee Dee had chronic conditions including leukemia, asthma, muscular dystrophy, and who had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old due to brain damage. Now, the following day, police found Gypsy Rose in Wisconsin, where she had traveled with her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, whom she met online. It turns out that Gypsy let him into the home and allegedly gave him duct tape, gloves, and a knife, with the understanding that he would use it to end Dee Dee's life. Nicholas then stabbed Dee Dee 17 times in her back while she was asleep. Then the pair fled. Wisconsin police arrested Gypsy and Nick at his parents' home a few days after Gypsy posted graphic messages from her mother's Facebook page. Now, Gypsy didn't want Dee Dee's body to be left undiscovered, so the posts were a call for attention. Now, the disturbing part is the post that said "that bee is dead" is still up on Facebook today. It's chilling to see it and read all the comments of people being worried for Dee Dee and Gypsy. Next up is that she lied in the interrogation. During Gypsy's interrogation, she acts shocked to hear that her mother had her life ended by someone. She says, "I don't know what happened with my mom, why don't you just tell me?" "You know what happened to your mom," the officer says. "I know that you know." Gypsy stunned asks, "You think that it's me? Why would you think it's me? I've always loved my mom. My mom and I are best friends." Now, Gypsy continued to maintain her innocence until Nick revealed the truth. Now, during a prison phone call with her dad, she tells him that what's being said about her in the news isn't true. "You know I love mama, and you know I would never hurt her. Just know that I am innocent and I'm still your little girl," she said. Now, eventually Nick and Gypsy were both formally arrested, and while the charge of first-degree homicide can carry the death penalty under Missouri law or life without parole, County Prosecutor Dan Patterson announced that he would not seek it for either Gypsy or Nicholas, calling the case extraordinary and unusual. Now, after Gypsy's attorney obtained her medical records from Louisiana, he secured a plea bargain to second-degree homicide for Gypsy, and in July 2015, she accepted the plea bargain agreement and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. But as we all know though, she got out of prison early. Now on to her illnesses being fake. So despite everything everyone was told by Gypsy and her mother, she wasn't actually sick. Now, her mother was. Her mother Dee Dee had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a mental disorder in which a parent exaggerates, fabricates, or induces illness in a person under their care to obtain sympathy or attention. Now, Dee Dee had been making her daughter pass herself off as younger and pretended to be disabled and chronically ill, subjecting her to unnecessary surgeries and medication, and controlling her through physical and psychological mistreatment. Now, Gypsy wasn't aware of this, and when she found out she could walk
and wasn't fully sick, that's when she came up with her plan to end the life of her mother. Now, after the disclosure of how Dee Dee had treated Gypsy, sympathy for Dee Dee as the victim shifted to her daughter as a long-term victim of mistreatment. Now let's discuss blaming Nick. Gypsy is quoted in Nick's trial in 2018 saying, "If it weren't for Nick and how dark he was, I wouldn't have gone through with it." Yes, it seems like she blames Nick for the whole thing, even though it was her idea. Nick wanted the deed, as he called it, to be done with a machete. However, Gypsy was headstrong about calling the shots. After all, it was her mother. "I planned this murder," Gypsy said at Nick's trial. She explained under oath how a tasteless and odorless poison was too hard to find, that arson would be too complicated, and a firearm would be too messy. Now, instead of a machete, Gypsy stole a hunting knife from a Walmart. She mailed Nick more than $1,000 that she stole from Dee Dee, and he was to purchase a round-trip bus ticket for himself and a one-way for Gypsy to join him back in Wisconsin. Now, the rest of the money was for food and a room at a nearby Days Inn hotel. Now, what's somewhat funny is that Nick got a harsher sentence than Gypsy, even though she was the mastermind. Nick was charged with first-degree homicide and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now we have her maintaining a relationship with Nick. Gypsy said she was still pining over Nick while they were in the county jail. They exchanged letters by hiding them in the recreation room and writing messages on the wall. Later, when they were both in prison, the former couple exchanged just 2 letters. When Nick found out that she was engaged to another man before she met and married Ryan Anderson in 2022, he accused her of adultery because he had taken her virginity, even though she said he hadn't, and they were still married under God's law. She replied that she never wanted to get back together with him, but still felt a sense of guilt, which is why she testified on his behalf at his trial. Then we have She Would Steal. It was revealed that Gypsy and her mother used her wheelchair for shoplifting. Now, because they were recognized as a loving mother caring for her special needs child, Gypsy said no one suspected that they were stealing. They used her wheelchair to knock items off store shelves and hide them under her princess dress or beanie cap. Now, Dee Dee told Gypsy that she was 5 years younger than her actual age, dressed her in children's clothes, and she wore a beanie over her shaved head as a part of the cancer ruse. Now, the pair would also swap barcodes on the expensive items with those on cheaper ones. Now, they didn't even need many of the items they stole, said Gypsy, who described her mother as a hoarder. "Our bedroom had so much piled in it, I needed to carve a pathway for myself from the door to the bed," she said. Now, let's discuss her marriage. As of April 12, 2019, Gypsy was reported to be engaged to a prison pen pal. His name was Ryan Scott Anderson, and he began writing to her after watching the HBO documentary Mommy, Dead and Dearest, which tells Gypsy's story. Now, they knew each other for a year and a half, and Gypsy's family approved of him. In an exclusive interview with People, Gypsy recounted her July 21, 2022 morning wedding with her husband Ryan, a special education teacher from Louisiana. "It was very, very small. We didn't have any guests," she recalled. "It was just something for him, and in the future," Gypsy said, "the couple plan on having a reception, like a /redo wedding with all of our family and all of our friends, and the dress and the cake and everything, because we deserve that, I deserve that, he deserves that," she said. "Our prison wedding was just something where we could make our vows to each other," she added. "It was something that meant something to us." Moving on to her regretting what she did. "If I had another chance to redo everything, I don't know if I'd go back to when I was a child and tell my aunts and uncles that I'm not sick and mommy makes me sick," says Gypsy. "Or if I would travel back to just the point of the conversation with Nick and tell him, you know what, I'm going to tell the police everything. I kinda struggle with that." But she adds, "No one will ever hear me say I'm glad she's dead or I'm proud of what I did. I regret it every single day." Now, her decision to have Dee Dee's life ended came after she tried to run away ahead of yet another needless procedure. She claimed she fled her home only to be tracked down within hours. "She found me, brought me back, and put in place paperwork saying I was incompetent and she had power of attorney over me," she said. Now, at that point, Gypsy felt there was nowhere left to turn. "I was trying really hard to figure out another way," she says. "That's when there was a conversation between me and my co-defendant Nick.
He said, "I would do anything to protect you." I said, "Anything?" He said, "Yes." Now, after years of reflection, self-work, and therapy, when speaking about Dee Dee, Gypsy said she didn't deserve that, adding, "She was a sick woman and unfortunately I wasn't educated enough to see that. She deserved to be where I am, sitting in prison doing time for criminal behavior. It's a journey. I'm still really trying to come to a place of forgiveness for her, for myself, and the situation," she says. "I still love my mom, and I'm starting to understand that it was something that was maybe out of her control, like an addict with an impulse. That helps me with coping and accepting what happened," she added. Up next, she's now a millionaire. Now, according to one source, Gypsy's net worth has reached an estimated $3 million. Now, how does one spend nearly 9 years in prison with no previous employment experience, only to become a millionaire upon their release? Well, her financial status is undeniably linked to her unexpected prominence as a public figure. The documentaries and true crime adaptations featuring her have not only contributed to her net worth, but have also fueled the ongoing public interest in her case. From participating in documentaries that delve into the complexities of her case, to signing book deals that offer readers insights into her life, she has strategically leveraged her unique experiences. Now, additionally, her presence on social media platforms, with over 8.3 million followers on Instagram at the time of filming this, involvement in speaking engagements, and sponsorships contribute to her overall income. Now, allegedly, Gypsy's journey into the public eye was neither planned nor conventional, but she wants to use her platform to raise awareness about the intricate issues surrounding Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And last on our list is that she was a victim of voodoo. Yep, you heard that right. In an installment of the Lifetime Network docuseries The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, it details a voodoo hex Gypsy claims her mother placed on her, and some believe the use of this closed practice is ultimately what led to Dee Dee's own death. Now, the most recent revelation is that when Gypsy tried to run away and escape her mother, she was punished with a voodoo curse. Dee Dee printed out a picture of her daughter and her then boyfriend and put them in a mason jar along with a cow tongue and some of Gypsy's menstrual blood. She then buried the jar in their backyard, claiming it would curse her daughter from ever finding love or happiness. Now, in the case of Gypsy, it seems like a stretch to blame everything on a jar of gross cow tongue buried in a yard, but it seems like karma caught up to Dee Dee.
Number 10. Portia de Rossi. In her 2010 groundbreaking memoir Unbearable Lightness, Portia de Rossi reveals the pain and illness that haunted her for decades, from a time she was a 12-year-old girl working as a model in Australia through her early rise to fame as a cast member of the hit television show Ally McBeal. She also detailed her struggles with and while living in the public eye, and recounted how she survived on 300 calories a day and took 20 laxatives daily, trying to maintain a weight of 82 pounds. According to her memoir, Portia both starved herself and putting her life in danger and concealing from herself and everyone around her the seriousness of her illness, and described the elaborate rituals around food that came to dominate hours of every day. The actress did this all while terrified that the truth of her sexuality would be exposed in the tabloids, and revealed the heartache and fear that comes from living a life in the closet, which was only magnified by her unrelenting desire to be thinner, more in control of her body, and the number of calories she consumed and spent. But it wasn't all bad. Portia also recounted how falling in love with Ellen DeGeneres helped her develop a healthy body image, embrace her sexual orientation, and gain inner peace. Number 9. Janice Dickinson. A strange encounter with Bill Cosby in 1982 was described in the 2002 memoir No Lifeguard on Duty by the self-anointed world's first supermodel Janice Dickinson. In her book, she reveals real moments that she experienced with Cosby and goes into great detail when it comes to taking back the narrative. Janice mentioned how Cosby allegedly answered his hotel room door in nothing but a towel and kissed her. He then took her to dinner and suggested that she follow him back upstairs. The memoir was pretty explosive at the time and would come back into relevance in 2018 when she chose to testify in court to Cosby's crimes. The comedian was once known to millions as America's Dad, famous for his clean brand of family comedy and his award-winning work with children's programming. So Janice's memoir really did help expose Cosby's double life life, as eventually more than 50 women came out, claiming that the star slipped them illicit substances and took advantage of them while they were unconscious. And in April of 2018, an 80-year-old Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison, although he would eventually be released in 2021. Number 8. Corey Feldman. In his deeply personal 2013 memoir, child star and teen heartthrob Corey Feldman exposes the darkness that loomed behind his rise to fame. Although he undoubtedly had a successful career, famous friendships, and high-profile relationships, Corey reveals a side to his star-studded life that no one knew about, and it's full of tragedy. He came from a broken family that he emancipated himself from at the age of 15. As a teenager, he suffered physical, emotional, and sexual violence. The Stand By Me star was also arrested and struggled with addiction throughout his time as a successful working actor. But most shockingly, Corey also implied that his close friend Corey Haim's lifelong battle with addiction was the result of being preyed upon by a powerful older man. Following the book's publication came rampant speculations about the identity of the offender, and it's something that readers still argue about to this day. His memoir, Choreography, weaves a heartbreaking story of pain and survival that reveals just how dark the industry can really be. Number 7. Holly Madison. Former Playboy bunny and Girls Next Door star Holly Madison dished on how oppressive life with Hugh Hefner really was in 2015's Down the Rabbit Hole. Madison described the many bizarre rules and rituals that Hefner imposed upon his girlfriends. For instance, that they needed to wear matching flannel pajamas, engage in group, dressed in tiny skirts and bralettes, and had a daily curfew of 9 p.m. The memoir tells the story of Madison's time with Hefner from 2001 to 2008 and its aftermath. She goes into great detail about the reality of her life behind the cameras, how her depression in the Playboy mansion reached harrowing depths, yet she felt trapped there. She also opened up about her unwillingness to admit to anyone how sad she really was, and Hefner's emotional control over her. The book also explores her time on the reality show The Girls Next Door and the weirdness that was pop culture in the early 2000s. When speaking about her book, Holly said, quote, "I felt like I had something to say about being in the midst of that whole thing that was going on where Paris Hilton and Jessica Simpson and Kendra was so celebrated, and I was a part of it too, for being dumb on TV. Part of the reason I wanted to write the book was to show the other side of it, which goes to show you just how much of it was all for the cameras." Number 6. Shania Twain. The Grammy-winning country singer confronted her childhood demons when she wrote her 2011 memoir, From This Moment On, describing how her stepfather Jerry was physically, sexually, and verbally violent towards her and her mother Sharon. In a frank and often shocking autobiography, the singer reveals graphic and personal details about her rags to riches story and the price of ambition and success. Throughout her memoir, it also became clear that Shania experienced a harrowing degree of poverty and hunger. For instance, she claimed that sometimes there was only bread and mustard for her and her 4 siblings to eat, and they often wore plastic bread bags to cover their shoes to protect their feet during winter, and regularly went to school without lunch. The singer also had to deal with a double betrayal in her life. She wrote about the heartache that she went through when she found out about the affair between her husband of 14 years, Robert Lang, and her best friend. As a result, Shania became so distraught that she literally lost her voice to spasmodic dysphonia, which left her unable to sing. So her memoir explores how she worked through all that heartbreak. Number 5. Sharon Stone. She became a Hollywood icon and a household name after her role in Basic Instinct, and in a 2021 memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice, she finally reveals the vulnerability behind her femme fatale persona. She goes into great detail about her experiences in Hollywood, like how she was tricked into that famous shot in Basic Instinct, and ill-equipped for fame when it finally came to her. She was also routinely taken advantage of in the male-dominated film industry. She claims that the filmmakers were not entirely honest about what they captured with the camera, and so they didn't have her complete consent to put that scene in the film. Quote, "I do think we have to create a think tank that really addresses what is a crime, what is a felony, what is consent." The name of her memoir actually comes from a life-changing brain hemorrhage that she suffered in 2001 that almost killed her. It left her without the basic ability to function, and she ended up losing her family, her career, and a huge part of her life, which she had to start again from the ground up. Stone also talks about how she went through a childhood of and violence to a career in an industry that actually brought back a lot of those memories for her. Although in Hollywood, it was all hidden under the cover of money and glamour. Number 4, Leah Remini. A former longtime Scientologist, King of Queens star Leah Remini opened up about her experiences in the church in her 2015 memoir, Troublemaker. As a teenager in the church's Sea organization, Remini said that she was reprimanded for sunning by the pool at the Scientology-run Sandcastle Hotel in Florida, and as a punishment was taken out to sea on a boat, thrown overboard, and nearly drowned by a group leader. Not only that, but she was also once fined $40,000 after confessing to stealing food from the headquarters 20 years earlier. In her memoir, Leah also made some shocking allegations about several well-known Hollywood celebrities. In fact, she recalled a time that her and her husband, Angelo, spent time at Tom Cruise's Beverly Hills mansion when he invited a group of well-known Scientologists and other celebrities, including the Smiths. She actually called Will and Jada Pinkett Smith famous friends of the church, and even mentioned the Scientology school that they opened, revealing that despite Jada's denial, she is indeed good friends with Tom Cruise and an active member of the controversial religion. Number 3, Jeanette McCurdy. Described as both heartbreaking and hilarious, iCarly star Jeanette McCurdy's bluntly titled memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, gives fans a glimpse into what really went on behind the cameras, something that up until now fans have only been able to speculate about. Jeanette exposes her traumatic experiences on Nickelodeon and the disturbing truth about how she was mistreated by her mother, who pushed her to be a child star, noting that the persona she was known for throughout her youth and her young adult life was a front forced upon her by her mom, who, in addition to everything else, was extremely physically inappropriate with both her and her brother, even when they were teenagers. Jeanette also discusses the perils of young fame and reveals that she developed anorexia as a child, and talks about why she ultimately quit acting altogether. She also details numerous instances where she felt exploited as a teen actor, both on and off set. The actress refers to the person behind the demands as simply the creator throughout the memoir, never naming them. She simply describes them as mean-spirited, controlling, and terrifying, calling a time when she was filming an episode of iCarly that he insisted that she wear a bikini instead of a one-piece swimsuit which she preferred. The revelations in her new book are absolutely shocking, and they really expose the traumatic experience of being a child star. Number 2, Christina Crawford. At the height of her fame in the 1940s, Joan Crawford had a considerable reputation to uphold. She won a 1945 Best Actress Academy Award for the lead role in Mildred Pierce. She lived in a beautiful house in Brentwood, LA, and used her wealth to adopt and raise 4 children, including Christina Crawford. For all of this, Joan was celebrated in the public eye and had extensive magazine spreads about her happy family life. But to her daughter, the facade was a complete lie, and eventually her frustration at the discrepancy between her mother's private existence and her public reputation bubbled over. In 1978, she published Mummy Dearest, which told the truth about her mother's character, that she was a sadistic perfectionist. It was the first tell-all celebrity memoir to talk so openly about childhood, and subsequently was a worldwide sensation upon its release. In fact, it stayed at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for 42 weeks, and even resulted in the 1981 film adaptation starring Faye Dunaway that would go on to become a cult hit. To this day, most people associate Joan Crawford with that infamous scene where she launches into a vicious tirade after discovering Christina's dresses were hung up on wire clothes hangers. So it's safe to say that her reputation never recovered. And coming in at number 1, Rose McGowan. In her 2018 memoir Brave, the outspoken actress takes readers behind the scenes of her life in Hollywood, where she has become known as one of the fiercest and realest women fighting to expose the ugly truth about Harvey Weinstein and the systematic misogyny that has defined the industry for so long. The most outspoken of all of Weinstein's accusers, McGowan opens up about when she first met the movie mogul at the Sundance Film Festival, but only refers to him in her book as the monster. She was at the premiere of her 1997 film Going All the Way when he sat behind her. The next day she was sent to his hotel room, where the two talked about films and her acting goals. But as he walked her out, McGowan writes that he pushed her into his bathroom, forcibly backed her into the wall, and ripped off her clothes. But most shockingly, after the incident, the actress was driven to a photo op with her Phantoms co-star Ben Affleck. When she told him what happened, he simply said, "Damn it, I told him to stop doing that." Her memoir couldn't be more relevant to current events, as to date, 84 women have come forward with allegations against Weinstein, and he is currently serving a prison sentence of 23 years.
In at number 10, Janet Jackson. It's very rare that a celebrity in Hollywood is able to keep their relationship, or marriage for that matter, under the radar. However, Janet Jackson has been able to keep her multiple marriages and subsequent divorces all a secret from the tabloids. First, she was married to singer-songwriter Renee Elizondo in 1991, and that union remained under wraps until she filed for divorce in 2000. She then managed to keep her next marriage to billionaire Wissam Almana in 2012 a secret as well. This marriage actually really ended up changing Janet. She moved to London and abandoned her look to opt for a more conservative garb in line with Almana's Muslim religion. The couple wed 2 years after they met, and much to everyone's surprise, the then 50-year-old Janet announced that she was pregnant with son Issa, who was born in January of this year. To even greater surprise, Janet then announced her separation from Almana 4 months later. In at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is typically all about the laugh, so it's really hard to believe her when she's talking about her late brother, a convicted pedophile. The public first learned about her older brother Kenny in her best-selling autobiography My Life on the D-List, and in the book Kathy spoke about growing up with her brother and how she felt a very violent energy whenever he was around. She even admitted to witnessing him beating up his own wife. What's just as disturbing was when Kathy explained how he was sexually inappropriate with her from the time that she was just a little girl. Ultimately, this shaped the way that she perceived the world and herself as she grew up. Kenny Griffin ended up going to prison and eventually passed away. In at number 8, Rose McGowan. Ever since the beginning of the Time's Up and Me Too movement, actress Rose McGowan has been an outspoken force for change. As a result, she's been very open about her own personal secrets involving mental illness and sexual abuse. Growing up, her life was plagued with pain because her parents belonged to a cult called the Children of God. According to Rose, the members believed in free love, and so she was raised in a commune where mistreating women was just normalized. She even cited that men in the cult would regularly mistreat women and force them to act as servants. In at number 7, Holly Madison. Having frequently visited the Playboy Mansion when she was a 20-year-old college student in Los Angeles, the aspiring actress decided to move into the house a year later in 2001. The Oregon native, who was familiar with Playboy and had been a fan, soon became Hugh Hefner's lead girlfriend, and the two appeared to fall madly in love. Over the course of their 7 years together, their untraditional relationship was followed on the E! Channel series called The Girls Next Door. Holly acted as the loyal wife figure alongside co-stars and fellow girlfriends Kendra and Bridget. However, in a bizarre series of events, Holly left the mansion claiming that Hugh had refused to marry her. That being said, this is exactly how Hef wanted things to appear to the general public. In her memoir titled Down the Rabbit Hole, she spoke openly about the relationship and revealed some deep-rooted secrets that Hugh never wanted us to know. Apparently, he knew that she was unhappy and just ignored her. Upon reflecting on it, she said that even though she gave 7 years of her life, the man could barely have a conversation with her. In at number 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart may be a happily married mother of 3, but during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she partied like every other Hollywood star. In the 1990s, she appeared to be this squeaky clean actor, but that was just an image put forth by executives. In her tell-all book called Melissa Explains It All, she speaks very openly about all of the secret stories that she had to keep under wraps while acting in Hollywood. In one portion of the book, she says that she experimented with weed, ecstasy, mushrooms, and mescaline for about a year and a half. Looks like her broomstick wasn't the only thing that was getting her high. Am I right? Up top. No? Okay. On top of that, she spilled crazy details about making out with a woman in a limo and then heading to a Maxim photo shoot while still high, then revealing that it was her 3rd or 4th time on ecstasy for this photo shoot. Although all this bad behavior, she says, is attributed to the bad crowd that she was hanging around with. I think she claimed also that Paris Hilton once offered her cocaine at a party, but obviously she denied. In at number 5, Daniel Radcliffe. Where does the time go? It feels like only yesterday that we were watching the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Although because we were so engulfed in following Daniel Radcliffe bring this character to life, we failed to notice when he grew up. Not only that, but his confession that he had a drinking problem was sadly something that no one wanted to hear about. Thankfully, he beat this in 2010, but the actor himself has revealed that he would show up to the set of Harry Potter still intoxicated from the night before. Daniel said that there were times during his teen years where he felt like he was being watched, and while admitting that most of that may have been in his own head, he still didn't know how to deal with it. During an interview with Off Camera, he said, "In my case, the quickest way to forget about the fact that you're being watched is to get very drunk." In an interview for The Guardian, he said that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure of fame and potential failure. And as I mentioned, he has been sober since 2010, but said that his friends played a big role in his recovery. Although he did reveal some pretty crazy stuff about being intoxicated while filming Harry Potter. Daniel said, "I can honestly say I never drank at work on Harry Potter. I went into work still drunk, but I never drank at work. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." That really changes that movie series for me. In at number 4, Jackie Chan. There are very few actors in the world that have forsaken their health and safety like Jackie Chan just in order to do their own stunts. As a master of the martial arts, he's put his skills to the test both physically and comedically. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has injured himself countless times but somehow remains unfazed. It's most likely because Jackie grew up in a family of risk takers. His mother, Li Chan, was a drug dealer, and his father actually was a secret agent for the Nationalist Guard. His father ended up fleeing to Hong Kong after Mao took power in 1949, and his mother was forced to abandon her first 2 children due to extreme poverty. Jackie Chan's parents actually met in the most bizarre way possible, a reason for meeting that Jackie would keep quiet for many years. Li and Charles Chan met when he busted her for drug possession. He ended up taking pity on her and then just letting her go. I mean, what an origin story for this Hollywood superstar. In at number 3, Richard Pryor. More often than not, comedians have very tragic backstories, and that can certainly be said for the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The actor and comic struggled with addiction throughout his life. He was married 7 times and even lit himself on fire once. However, his upbringing was even more of a personal struggle. Richard Pryor's mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute who worked out of his grandmother Marie's brothel. When Gertrude abandoned her son when he was only 10 years old, he was left in the hands of his abusive grandmother. Pryor's paternal side also didn't do him any favors. His father, Leroy, was a hustler and a boxer, yet despite his own demons and secrets, Pryor was able to turn his pain into comedy. In at number 2, 50 Cent. A lot of rappers talk about living a gangster lifestyle, but some of them actually do it. 50 Cent might seem egotistical and talk a big game, but the rapper has had a very tough childhood. The rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was born in Queens, New York, and his mother, Sabrina, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to him. Sabrina ended up turning to drug dealing to feed her son and became one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area. Unfortunately, she was killed in an unexplained fire when Jackson was only 8 years old. Still, he would go on to follow in her footsteps with drug dealing and was even shot 9 times in May of 2000. At the age of 19, an undercover police officer had arrested Jackson for selling 4 vials of cocaine, and then his home was raided 3 weeks later. He was then sentenced to 3 to 9 years, and he went to a boot camp instead to get his GED, but at this time he was already rapping and took on the name 50 Cent, which actually was an original moniker of a Brooklyn crook from the 1980s. Bunch of secrets in there for you that you can read on an autobiography page. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Keith Richards. Nobody who started their career in the music business in the 1960s, and I mean nobody, has remained untouched by the glorious days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is especially valid for the musicians of the legendary rock bands, most of whom have admitted to having consumed all kinds of substances in their time. But none of those are as bizarre as the one that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones is said to have sampled. In 2007, a magazine revealed that the 72-year-old guitarist once mixed his father's ashes with cocaine and then snorted him. The veteran of drug marathons was convinced that his father wouldn't have objected at all, and added that he went down pretty well. Many years later, Richards realized that being still alive after decades of drug and alcohol abuse was just pure luck. He also advised that others not follow in his footsteps and definitely abstain from snorting their parents.
And at number 10, Harry and Meghan are related. This should be taken with a slight grain of salt because at some point, if we go back far enough, we're pretty much all related. So as we know, Meghan was born American, and of course Harry is British, but they still share some DNA. The Daily Mail did a genealogical investigation where it was revealed that Harry and Meghan are cousins dating back to the 15th century. The connection is on Markle's father's side, but of course it's 15 generations back, so there are no real connections still intact, and there's zero chance anyone will be related at family gatherings. And at number 9, always wanted to be famous. An old friend of Meghan's came forward after the engagement claiming that Meghan always wanted to be famous, even since childhood. She not only loved being the center of attention from a young age, she was very calculated in who she spent her time with. Nanaki Pretty told the Daily Mail, quote, "All I can say now is I think that Meghan was calculated, very calculated in the way she handled people and relationships. She is very strategic in the way she cultivates circles of friends." Pretty also claimed that Meghan always wanted to be famous. Royal scholars have pointed out that this trait is a positive for Meghan and Harry's relationship. Apparently most of Harry's other relationships didn't work out because the women he was with did not like all the attention, but clearly this is not an issue for Meghan. Penny Junor, author of Prince Harry, Brother Soldier's Son, told the Express, quote, "One of the advantages of Meghan is because she's in the public eye, she likes that. The real problem with Harry's girlfriends in the past is that they absolutely hated the media attention that scared them off." And at number 8, Meghan cheated with Harry. After Meghan was confirmed to be dating Prince Harry, it came out that there might have been some overlap between her relationship with Harry and with her ex, who was Canadian chef Corey Vitelio. Before she started dating Harry, Meghan was seen out with the chef on multiple occasions. Nobody thought anything about her past relationship until a fan noticed that Vanity Fair changed the date when Harry and Meghan started dating from May to July of 2016, because apparently she was still with the chef in May. Harry and Meghan first met at the Invictus Games in Toronto, and when Harry asked for her number, the Telegraph reported that she was still with her ex. The Daily Mail actually asked the chef about his split with Meghan, and he claimed that he and Meghan had, quote, parted permanently when Harry came on scene. However, he did somewhat hint that the pair might have been together in some capacity while she still was with Harry. And at number 7, fame changed her. After news broke that Meghan was marrying Harry and would become a princess, many sources came out saying that fame had changed her, and she's all about climbing the social ladder. In December of 2017, news broke that Samantha Markle, who is Meghan's estranged half-sister, was planning a tell-all book about Meghan. In an interview with The Sun, Samantha said, quote, "Hollywood has changed her. I think her ambition is to become a princess." Samantha also complained that Meghan forgot about her after gaining high society status. A source close to the family told E! News that Samantha cannot be trusted. However, Samantha is not the only person who says this about Meghan. Meghan's former best friend, Nikandi Pretty, told the Daily Mail in December of 2017, quote, "There's Meghan before fame and Meghan after fame." And at number 6, chose career over marriage. Before Meghan was known for her role on Suits, she was actually married to a producer named Trevor Engelson for 2 years, before they eventually split. The split was apparently caused because of Meghan's work, and a former friend said that Meghan clearly chose her career and work over her husband. The former friend, who served as a maid of honor at Markle's wedding to Engelson, told the Daily Mail, quote, "It was such a shock when she told me they were getting divorced. Apparently the stress of the long-distance relationship is what caused the main issue. Meghan was living in Canada at the time, filming the show Suits while her husband was in LA. Apparently Engelson was heartbroken over the split and did not see it coming." Halfway at number 5, does not treat animals well. Meghan Markle likes to be known for her humanitarian and social efforts. One thing that Meghan is very proud of is that she adopted 2 dogs from a rescue shelter. But it seems that it was not happily ever after for the 2 puppies. After Meghan became a princess and was set to move to Kensington Palace in 2017, a spokesperson confirmed that Markle's retriever, Bogart, would not join her overseas. Apparently Meghan felt that it was inhumane for the dog to take the long trip, along with the difficult approval process for dogs coming into the country, and Meghan left the dog with one of her friends in LA. Then later in December, Daily Mail reported that her other dog, Guy, broke both of his legs. We're not sure what the circumstances were, but apparently Meghan was, quote, distraught over the accident. And at number 4, Meghan cut off her friends. After Meghan split from her ex-husband, it was said that she spent a lot of time in London. While there, she apparently formed a friendship with local TV personality Lizzie Cundy. After attending an event together, Lizzie disclosed that Meghan wanted her to help finding a new man. Apparently Meghan wanted him to be British and famous. In a 2019 tell-all, Cundy wrote about Meghan, quote, "We were having a girly chat and then she said, 'Do you know any famous guys? I'm single and I really love English men.' So I said, 'We'll go out and find you someone.'" Apparently Meghan was interested in soccer player Ashley Cole, but it didn't go anywhere. Then Meghan apparently slid into the DMs of X Factor winner Matt Cardle in 2015, but shortly after that Cardle just stopped replying. But apparently after Harry showed some interest in Meghan, Meghan felt she had no need to stay in touch with Lizzie Cundy anymore and basically ghosted her. Apparently Cundy asked Meghan about Harry, then they chatted for a bit, but never saw each other again. Cundy added, quote, "I was literally ghosted by her." And then number 3, the staff hate her. It was reported that while Meghan and Harry were living in the royal palace with the other family members, the staff hated Meghan so much that they started to quit. In October of 2018, a palace aide and assistant named Melissa quit because of, quote, Hurricane Meghan. Apparently Melissa was a longtime aide of the family's and a trusted assistant, but that all changed when Meghan came into the picture and annoyed the staff with her requests. Apparently Meghan adopted a lot of West Coast habits like waking up at 5 a.m. and, quote, bombarding aides with texts. One source told the Mirror, quote, "Meghan put a lot of demands on her and it ended up with her in tears. Melissa is a total professional and fantastic at her job, but things came to a head and it was easier for them to both go their separate ways." Apparently Meghan's tension with her staff also caused a rift between Meghan and Kate. Kate apparently called out Meghan for her strict and disrespectful behavior towards the staff. And at number 2, inappropriate requests. On the day of Harry and Meghan's wedding, Meghan wanted everything to be exactly the way she liked it, which is usually what happens for normal weddings. But royal weddings are much different, and most of what happens is passed down for generations and become very strong traditions for the royals. Meghan tried to change a lot of things around for her wedding, which people did not like. One of the most offensive requests was when Meghan asked for air fresheners to be deployed in the chapel where she was to get married. Apparently, the smell inside St. George's Chapel was not good enough for her. British insiders stated it does have somewhat of a musty smell, but it is not unpleasant, and it's expected for a building that's been around since 1475. A source said that Meghan wanted the staff to go around with spray guns to make it smell better, but the request was denied. The source said, quote, "Royal household staff stepped in and told her office politely but firmly that this was the Queen's chapel and it simply wasn't appropriate. I don't believe a request of that nature has ever been made before." And finally at number 1, Meghan knew she wouldn't stay royal. The exit of Harry and Meghan from the royal family was devastating news to many. But after further investigation, it seems that Meghan might have known she was not going to be a royal for long. And she might have even concocted this scheme to get the most amount of press possible, then to leave the royal family and go back to Hollywood, where she's always wanted to be. When it was announced that the royals would be leaving, everyone blamed the decision on Meghan, as she was the only change in the family before Harry's formal exit. British columnists said that they think Meghan did not know the difference between being a celebrity and being a royal. Canadian millionaire Kevin O'Leary even slammed Meghan, saying she was the reason that nobody cares about the couple anymore. Quote, "I think Meghan got him into a bad place, and maybe she should do a little soul searching. She knew what she was getting into when she married him." Page 6 also reported that Meghan put some clothes in a storage location in Canada before she got married. She then decided to keep them in Canada, and they were sent to the couple's new Vancouver home after the Megxit announcement. Maybe Meghan left them there because she knew she would be coming back.